Okay, so we're going to be moving on to dominant and recessive traits this week. There are guided notes that you need to fill in, but I made it pretty easy this time. If the word is in green font, you have to write it down. There's also going to be a short activity at the end. I'm going to go through some common traits with you guys, and you have to record if you have it or if you don't have that trait. Okay, so what are traits? So you can have a physical trait, which can be seen by others, and this is your eye color, hair color, height, if you're left-handed, right-handed, anything you can see. And then you have acquired traits. These are learned skills or learned traits. So playing a sport, riding a bike, playing an instrument, those are all something that you acquired or you learned. And then you have behavioral traits, and these are like instinctual actions. I know it's cut off down here at the bottom, but it says nest building and migration. So when birds build their nest or when they migrate, that is a behavioral trait. It's their instinct. Okay, so I'm just going to review some terms that are used in modern genetics with you. So the first term is genotypes. This is the particular alleles or gene an individual carries. They are inherited from your biological parents, and genes control your traits. And then you have phenotypes, and this is an individual's observable traits. So this is what people can see when they look at you. So your phenotypes you can see, and genotypes you just carry these genes with you. And then an individual with non-identical alleles of a gene is heterozygous for that gene. So heterozygous means that you have one dominant and one recessive. If it's capitalized, it's dominant. If it's lowercase, it's going to be recessive. So these are going to be a mix of the two, dominant and recessive. And then if an individual with identical alleles of a gene, it is called homogeneous for that gene. And so this is going to be the same. They're both dominant or they're both recessive. Both dominant, both recessive. I just try to remember that hetero means opposite or different, and then homo means same. It's just my little trick. Okay, so then you have an allele is dominant if its effect mask the effects of a recessive allele paired with it. So capital letters signify dominant, lowercase letters signify recessive. So again, you have a homogeneous or homozygous dominant because both of them are capital and they are the same, which means it's going to be dominant. And then you have homozygous recessive where they're the same but they're lowercase. And then you have heterozygous, which because you have this one dominant, it's going to overshadow or outrule the lowercase a. So it's going to be dominant. Okay, so now we're going to go through the different traits that you guys have. I'm going to go through the common traits that people have, and on a sheet you need to record which traits you have or do not have. Okay, so detached ears. If they are detached, they are dominant, and if they are attached, they are recessive. So when they're detached, they kind of hang free from your ear. And then if they're attached, see how it just kind of attaches straight onto your skin. Okay, so rolling your tongue. If you can roll your tongue, that is a dominant trait. If you cannot, that is recessive. Dimples. Having dimples is dominant. Not having dimples is recessive. If you're right-handed, you have a dominant trait. If you're left-handed, you have a recessive trait. Freckles. Having freckles actually is dominant. Not having freckles is recessive. Curly hair. Having curly hair is actually dominant, and having straight hair is recessive, but studies are starting to show that there's actually more than one gene that goes into your hair type. So I'm assuming that maybe this could possibly change here in the future. Okay, so cleft chin, if you have one that is dominant, so like right here, cleft chin's when you have like a little dimple in your chin, or some people call them butt chins. If you don't have one, it is recessive. Allergies. To have allergies, that's actually a dominant trait. To not have allergies, that's recessive. So if you guys like get real stuffy or itchy eyes, runny nose during the summer, during spring, you have allergies. And then hand clasps. If you clasp right over left, you have a dominant trait. But if you do left over right, it is a recessive trait. And this is easy to do if you just clasp your hands like they're doing in the picture. It'll actually feel weird if you try to clasp it the other way. So like right now, like my left thumb is over my right thumb. But if I put my right thumb over my left thumb, it does not feel correct to me. It feels funny. Okay, so if you can see color, you have a dominant trait. But if you cannot see color, you have a recessive trait. So in this picture, you should be able to see a number. But if you cannot, you might be colorblind. Color blindness actually runs more in males than it does females. It's just more dominant in males. Okay, widow's peak. Having a widow's peak is dominant. That's when your hair kind of comes down to a point on your forehead. If anybody has Miss Wise logo, she has a real like detailed widow's peak. Now you're all going to look at it tomorrow. But anyways, if you don't have a widow's peak, it's recessive and it's straight across. So see how this makes a V right here? And this one just goes yank right over. That is not a widow's peak. Alright, well that's all I have for you guys. So have fun looking up your traits.